Adamu here. Today we will not be taking a look at Kimono Daisy and how amazing her ability of linking to Donald for big points is. I'm very devastated that I'm not going to be able to put that one together today. In fact, what we are going to do today is I've compiled a list of all the things that really irritate me about this game and areas where they could make significant improvements, and they haven't been doing that since the inception of this game. So I'm going to be complaining about the game for an unknown amount of time. I put together a little bit of a list so I kind of have some points of reference, but everything else is completely unscripted. I'm just going to go through the whole thing, and I really want to just be open and honest with you guys. As you know, my channel kind of centers around this game. I've been covering every single Tsum Tsum available on the international servers, and I have preview videos for all the Japanese-based ones which we don't have yet available. I've gone into the economics, the tier lists. Everything you need to know about this game exists on this channel. I've been playing it for a long time, and I feel like these things are not so much my personal complaints, but it's something that a lot of people that have been playing the game long term kind of think about. So let's just start with the optimization of the game. And you know, before we get into that, if you don't want to hear me rag on the game because it's your favorite game in the world or whatever, now might be a good time to exit, because this is just going to be pure, unadulterated salt. Yeah, well, not exactly. There's going to be some suggestions, some things that maybe we can improve, and hopefully if someone from the development team of this game comes across this video, they can take something good away from it, and whatever comments and suggestions you guys will make as a subsequent effect of this video. So, optimization of the game. Now, this one, I'm not entirely sure why it is set up this way and if it even needs to be, but why are there two versions of this game, a Japanese version and an international version, one of which is significantly trimmed down by comparison? There's so many Tsum Tsum that we don't have on the international version that exist only on the Japanese version, and other little UI improvements, things of that nature. Why? Why is there two versions of this game? Maybe there's some regulatory reason, maybe there's some copyright reason where they can't release content on the international version as quickly as they can on the Japanese version, but I doubt it, because based on past events, with Jedi Luke, Romance Beast, those came to the international servers relatively quickly after they were released on the Japanese servers. And of course, Disney is a multinational corporation that basically owns everything, so I don't see why they would restrict their own claims to their own product. They should be able to release it everywhere, whenever they want, however they want. So I don't think that's what it is. And from a business perspective, having two teams work on two copies of the same game, one being a lesser version of the other, is just dumb. Or maybe they just have a few people working overtime and copy pasting whatever they feel like from the Japanese version into the international version. And if the game breaks and there's some massive fucking bug, then maybe on a coffee break or something they'll feel inclined to resolve it for us international players. I don't know, but ultimately what you're doing is you're spending more money on upkeep, and you're alienating your user base, the ones that are not in the Japanese region, because they are looking at an app, a simple phone game, a match 3 children's phone game, and they're like, well, why don't we have everything the other guys have? This is just a stupid game, right? Like, it's not like, there's someone sitting beside you and they're driving the Bugatti Veyron Grand Vitesse and you're in your little Chevy or whatever, right? That's an entirely different thing. This is an app game that's available for free download for everyone. There shouldn't be a version that has more shit and a version that has less shit. There should be an equal amount of shit in one version of the game, and ultimately, if you need multiple language interface, you add a language button to the loading screen, and people can select whatever language they want to play the game in, and you can call it quits. Everyone has everything, no one feels left out, blah blah blah. That's kind of my first starting point. Again, there might be some logistics reason why you need two teams and two versions of this game. I don't know what it is, and if it's necessary, then whatever. But if it isn't, come on now, really. The other optimization issue I would like to address, and I've definitely complained about this one before, but it is the Android versus iPhone device problem. Clearly this game has been developed with iOS in mind because it runs so much smoother on newer iPhones. Now I don't know if Disney is in bed with Apple and this is trickling down to all the interactions these two companies have between them at various levels, including little mobile phone games where if you don't have a certain device, you're locked out of the upper echelons of what you can do as far as high scores and coin, respectively. So what do I mean by that? Well, if you have an iPhone 8 or an iPhone 10, you can use Cinderella to get basically whatever score you want. But if you don't, and if you're on an Android device or maybe even an older iPhone, well then, well, that's just too bad. You can't compete. Even though this is a single player game with no real multiplayer interaction outside of a name on a scoreboard, which is your friend or whatever. So that's my other optimization thing. It's like, really, it's a single player game. It's not multiplayer. There are no multiplayer variables like in Marvel Tsum Tsum where you can team up with a friend quite literally to take down a boss, and you can fling each other's magic bubbles during the attack phase or the defense phase of that boss. No, there isn't anything like that. I'm not going to complain about not having multiplayer features in this game because that would be probably a more significant development cycle to implement, and I'm not holding my breath on that one. But in a single game or single player game, why would you lock things behind a certain device or a certain Tsum Tsum? And I'm going to get into the problems with the Tsum Tsum in just a second. But it's really irritating when you can't compete with yourself effectively. You can't match your top scores or whatever, and it's not a thing. Like, honestly, once you master the mechanics of the game, the timing of the game, you improve your swiping speed, all of that, well, then it really determines your scores are determined by your device's performance and sheer luck. So this is where we're going to get into the Tsum Tsum diversity problem. So this thing really boggles my mind. Again, this is a single player game, so why is every single Tsum Tsum essentially a copy paste of a time-stopping Tsum Tsum, a horizontal, vertical, center clear, or something that makes a lot of magic bubbles or large Tsum Tsum? That's like literally 95% of every Tsum Tsum in this game does exactly the same thing. They're just reskins of the same abilities. Essentially, it just boggles the mind how stale this game has become, because it seems only once every, year and a half they release one Tsum Tsum that is just slightly more fine-tuned than all the rest. Now, I'm fully aware that this is a gacha game. So in gacha, the gacha system is heavily structured around you cranking that gacha wheel to keep getting more and more Tsum Tsum until you get the one that you actually want. So this brings me to the god tier Tsum Tsum, which is the ones you actually want. So that's going to be Cinderella for score and Jedi Luke for coin. Everyone else is kind of filler for when you get your hands on one of these. And again, once you have Cinderella, that's not enough. You need to make sure you have the phone that Cinderella functions ideally on, which happens to be a $1,600 phone where I live. So I don't know how much the iPhone X costs where you're at, but that's dumb. The other thing is, with Jedi Luke, you have a cycle where they don't bring him back for a year. There's other Tsum Tsums that haven't been around for like 2 years or maybe even longer, like Holiday Jack on the international servers. And really, there's no reason for that. Again, you are showing people that there's something they want, and then you don't bring it back for 2 years. So you're asking $53 for 460 rubies. Okay, that's fine, sure. And if we were to convert that into coin, you'd basically need to spend $106 to get about 400,000 coins, which is 13 spins at the crank to try and get that Tsum Tsum you're after, which may not have been in the rotation for years, and then if they do come back, you might have like a 1% chance of getting it. So yeah, let's spend $100 at 13 chances to get a 1% drop. Yeah, fuck that shit. I mean, who's gonna honestly do that? So, you know, you need to establish a certain balance between the cost of getting Tsum Tsum and how fun the game is actually to play, how good the other Tsum Tsum are, because if literally all the other Tsum Tsum are just filler, people are just going to give up and walk away. So it's really, really frustrating to deal with, especially as someone who makes content for this game, right? Like every month we get new releases and it's like, well, how do I start off this video? Should I just say, oh, like this is the most amazing new Tsum Tsum in the world, and then when I show you the gameplay, oh, but it's a horizontal clearer. It's not like I've never seen this before. I mean, sure, the animation is different, but nothing else is really different. So, you know, it really saps the fun out of a game where you have two Tsum Tsum that handle the two aspects of this game that everyone cares about: score and coin. Cinderella for score, Jedi Luke for coin. You have a few other really good coin earners, a couple other good score earners like Piglet and Maleficent Dragon. Those also kind of require a good phone to get the fast refresh rate to be able to achieve those scores, but you know, whatever. So that's that. Let's see, what else is here? What else can we complain about on my extensive list of complaints? So, making this game into a job will reduce potential income, and again, you know, when you have to grind out certain things to the extent that you do, and then the paywall to just purchase them outright is so high, you are eventually going to lose out on Ruby sales because no one is going to see a value. Again, there needs to be a balance between what you're getting and what you're paying. It's just simple economics, and don't lock score and coin potential. This is a huge one for more competitive players. You have the casual player base, and then you have the competitive player base. So why are you locking score earnings and coin earnings to two Tsum Tsum instead of just diversifying the skills? Just infuse some creativity into the game. You know, you can work the combo around so that the score that you're getting is more heavily influenced by things you can actually control instead of RNG, pure luck, time bubbles. Time bubbles should not be the metric with which you use to determine the success you have in this game, because you have no control over generating those. All you can really do is pray that when you make 9 to 16 chains, the game will give you those time bubbles. And the only thing you can do to, you know, really increase your chances of getting them is just to have the best possible hardware available to you so you can get the refresh rate and make more of those chains during your gameplay. That's basically it. So that really kills the competitive side of this, even though, again, it is a single player thing. But, you know, a lot of people look at the scoreboard and they're like, well, I want to be number one. So how do I make that happen? Well, there is no real way you can make that happen except that you need to get lucky, and yeah, that's basically it. You need to get lucky because the skill cap for this game, like your swiping, your timing, and your dexterity, those things, you don't need to achieve certain levels of greatness after 10 years of slaving away on trying to attain said skills. No, you can get those, you can pick those up pretty quickly, and then it's really just up to luck. So, whatever. So why not tie the results of the game to basically something tangible, combo, or maybe introduce a different mechanic where there's not just a combo based on the number of chains you've made in sequence without dropping it, but you can actually chain a combo between the bubbles and your skill, where progressively the more you can chain together or something in that regard, or the interaction between the two is going to give you significantly higher scores. That way you can make more Tsum Tsum be viable to get high scores with. So just an opinion there. And you know, there can be different mechanics for how you earn coin. Not everything has to be tied into how long your chain is, how big of a cluster of Tsum Tsum a burst type Tsum is going to clear. There's so many different things you can look at and just kind of modify the game to make it more entertaining. I mean, as far as the skills goes, there's an infinite number of possibilities. I was just reading over the comments on my Thanos video and this popped up, and as you can see, X Cavalier here says, if only Thanos' skills is like genies, having 6 different effects, one for each different type of infinity stone he has on his gauntlet. You know, he goes into explaining his ideas for how that could have been worked out, but it's too complicated. Actually, X Cavalier, it's not complicated. They could easily make this happen, but they don't. They take one of the most coolest villains in the Marvel Universe, and just villains in general, and they turn him into a center clearing Tsum Tsum with nothing. It's very disappointing, to say the least. So X Cavalier, thanks for including that in there. I really appreciate it. And as far as we are complaining about diversity, there's other things we can nag at. For example, bingo cards and missions are all the same. Every single one has the exact same missions. Why don't you just spend, like, here's a list of things that I would do. For example, you have a mission. Why not include the Tsum Tsum for that mission within the mission? So you need to clear, you know, a 20 chain or whatever with Donald. Well, make sure that Donald is actually available to use, even if just for that mission. You don't need to actually have Donald in your roster, but make it possible for people to actually complete the mission, even if they don't have that Tsum Tsum. And then guess what? They actually know what that Tsum Tsum is going to be like, how it plays, and if they want to pick it up later on. So I think it's a win-win. You know, just temporary release of that Tsum Tsum for that mission. So, and you can make the missions more fun. Why always make it about chains, bubbles, time bubbles, combo, whatever? Like, you can modify it so you have 2 Tsum Tsum on screen and only a 30-second clock, and your goal is to get like a super high score. And you know, why not have that? Include a level 6 Tsum Tsum. So be like, okay, you have level 6 Cinderella. You only have 2 types of Tsum Tsum on screen. You have, you know, like a 5-second clock, right? 5 seconds. You can basically enter fever time right away, so get another 5 seconds because there's only 2 types of Tsum Tsum. And then you have like maybe 3 or 4 seconds to start making some time bubbles and see how high you can go. And just make the cap really small. Like, you only need 5 million score to get through that mission or something. I don't know, just an example. Maybe raise it to 10 seconds to start, and then, well, presumably you can go the distance after that because you can just keep making time bubbles. Or you can do that with someone else. Like, how high of a score can you get with Yoda and 2 other Tsum Tsum on screen, and Yoda at SL6 will be provided for you? Why not do something like that? Or, you know, mini games. Where you can combine multiple skills together. So like a burst type Tsum Tsum with a time stopping type Tsum Tsum, and you know, you can modify all kinds of things. You can even add a secondary skill button and a tertiary skill button right beside that skill, the primary skill button. They can be weaker skills, but you can also initiate them during the game. So, you know, there's all kinds of different things just with the existing content in the game. You don't have to develop new abilities, which would be nice. You don't have to develop new infrastructure or anything like that within the game. You can just kind of mishmash the existing stuff into something more enjoyable, you know? what else do we have here? I haven't seen booster items in years. Yes, I mean, we've always had these 6, but the coming soon ones haven't been filled out since the beginning of time, even though we have viable alternatives from other games like Marvel Tsum Tsum. You know, they had one where the chance of getting large Tsum Tsum was increased. You can have special artifacts. You know, we have graphics from boxes and other capsules and things in the game already. You can make them have a special effect so that you can enable some kind of booster item where you have a slight chance of getting one in your game, but when you do, it'll like blow up the whole screen, or make all Tsum Tsum, make an entire screen of my Tsum, or something really cool, really exciting, something you'd want to actually spend the coin on to enable. Or, you know, you can have one where you can summon a friend and then they come in and do something every 5 seconds, every 10 seconds, whatever it is, whatever you determine based on the math of balancing the game, all of that. And, you know, really the options are limitless. I don't know why they're not really doing any of these things. The game is, quite frankly, becoming a little bit stale for me because I have nothing else to really strive for, and they're not really making it fun for me to play, which, you know, I want to be totally honest with you guys, and it's really driving me crazy, not to mention the glitches, the Gaston glitch where you can't complete a chain even though there's literally only Gastons on screen and you're not allowed to make a chain with that, or any of the other bugs, the optimization issues. It's just really, really frustrating, and for the most part, these would be easy fixes in my opinion. I do have some knowledge about programming and stuff like that, so I know exactly what I would do. If they would want to hire me as a consultant, I could give them all kinds of ideas to make this into one of the funnest games to play, but that remains to be seen. Anyways, that's going to do it for my rant. Thank you guys for watching. I hope it wasn't too salty, but, you know, this is something I have to get out there. I'd like to know what you guys think. Leave all your comments in the comment section below. Any suggestions you guys might have. Other than that, thank you so much. As always, thank you for your likes, your subs, and your viewership. I'll see you guys next time.